Rescue workers in Myanmar are digging for survivors after an earthquake caused devastation in Mandalay and other cities. More than 1,000 people are known to have died so far across Myanmar. Almost 2,500 others have been injured, and the death toll is expected to rise significantly.
A reminder of our breaking news this hour. There have been two large earthquakes in central Myanmar. The first recorded at 06:20 GMT with a magnitude of 7.7. 10 minutes later, an aftershock with a magnitude of 6.4 was recorded. Both were near Mandalay. Tremors have also been reported more than 1,000 miles away in Thailand and China.
I would like to caution listeners that the upcoming interview touches upon various topics that some may find upsetting. In an effort to tell the real story of what is now happening in Myanmar, we encourage our guests to share as they feel comfortable doing, affirming that this platform can bear the weight of their stories. As traumatic as the events have obviously been for our guests, they can affect even some of us who are listening from a distance as well. Every member of our team has shed a tear at some point or another in the process of bringing these interviews to you, and you might similarly find yourself affected by this story. So if you feel some of this content may be upsetting, maybe consider listening in stages or in whatever way that works. But please listen to bear witness to this guest story.
Thank you for having me on this platform.
All right, so we are going to be covering the ground of the media response and the difficulties of media regarding the coverage of knowing exactly what's going on in Myanmar after the fallout from this horrific 7.7 on the Richter scale earthquake. What can you tell us about the difficulties of reporting in media now?
Yeah. It's very challenging to get on the ground. One thing, every communication and the transportation, everything is cut out since the earthquake because the building falls and some building falls and everything like the phone line and the internet lines and everything was kind of cut out. And they may have a reception, but they may not be able to call it. And also the major roads are also cracked and everything. So it's very difficult physically to be there at the response, like immediately after the earthquake. And that's one thing. And the other thing is these the people are still in rescuing like now already 3 days. We are going into 3 days, but then people are still trying to rescue and trying to get their family member out and everything. And lots of people got injured, lots of dead body. One information that I got, like talking to the people on the ground, the community charity group are burying like every 3 minutes one body. So and then they have to do it like round the clock. So people do not have time to answer to our phone. And also people are running around. The scale is massive, and the whole town kind of like collapse and everything. So people are helping each other because there's no state helping or no other outside support. That is also natural way of traditional way of our way of like community helping and community resilience kind of structure that we have in place. So people have this, and also people do not have in this kind of mental state to recall things because they are still missing their family members. So it's very difficult for us to get hold of the people on the ground, and the communication is not stable. That sometimes people get the reception, sometimes people do not, and the earthquake also continue. So it's a transportation and communication. But on top of that, like a lot of the media population, a lot of the journalists are not in the cities, are not in Myanmar, or in like not in the cities area where this the art would happen. A lot of them have to flee to the jungle or to the other country to avoid to flee from the persecution of the military junta. So that's why the population, every time when there's international media, there are people who are called fixer, who are like local reporter. They're the one on the ground. Our massive population is not on the ground, and we have this lots of guilt and lots of like feeling like we really want to go back to our country and to report about this, but it's not possible because it's not possible for us to go back into the country in this kind of crisis and very limited human resources covering the information on the ground. So that those are the I think those are overall why media cannot be really reach, and why Myanmar information is not reached to the international stage. It comes really late. Only now my friends are calling, but then it has been happening since like 3 days ago, 2 days ago, and 2 days ago, and people didn't know it until now.
This is you're saying 3 days later, you're getting this information. This information is still not getting to that extent, is not getting beyond you. So it's not that it's taking this long to get out into media, properly reported, regional, international, whatever, but it's taking this long just to get to you alone.
Yeah, yeah, it takes so long. And also, usually we would call our journalist friends and everything. And now people on the ground, like the journalist friends, they have been doing excellent job in like covering and on the ground and also outside. And every individual, like a lot of people offer to volunteer to be translator and offer to be a fixer without, usually those are our pay job, but we all of us like jump in, and a lot of people who speak English ready to help, who speak English or other languages, like people in Korea, and they've been like massively trying, we really trying to help. But the thing is, we also do not know the extent, and we may not be able to contact. But so far, this coverage that you have been seeing, this is an excellent job of a lot of people, a lot of colleagues, a lot of friend media people, or citizen journalists and individual people that collaborate together. And that is really exceptional. I would really want to highlight their effort. But even to do that, it just people feel like, why can't we see it? We want to see more of it. But like here, the limitation that this is extremely out of the extremely difficult position. They have done an excellent job, but we are all ready to volunteer and translate and everything. But the thing is, we don't even know what's the scale and the extent of the ground situation for us to even to connect with the people on the ground.
And it's really operating like the perfect storm. Not only has it been over 4 years into the resistance to the military coup and an active conflict zone and airstrikes that are still ongoing. Not only is there all of this, but then on top of that, you have the decision by the Trump administration to cut RFA, Radio Free Asia, VOA, Voice of America. These are the journalism that they might be providing and would be in place to do, let alone the local media outfits that benefited from the U.S. aid cuts as well. So it seems like kind of one thing after another that's made it harder and harder to get the story out.
Exactly, exactly. That's why we keep saying why media are, important. And they just cut out this like network of the funding for the media funding. A lot of journalists lost their job. And also they continue doing though, but like the thing is there's if there is no channel, no platform to voice out, it's very difficult to get the news out. So that is, I would say, that is also the impact of the US funding cut in this kind of massive crisis. The news cannot be out, like what kinds of support and what it is. Like the rescue Only this morning, 8 a.m. Myanmar time, um, the international rescue could get to the site. The earthquake was 12:30 noon on the 28th. Now it's the 30th 8 a.m. Only at 30th 8 a.m. they can start doing this rescue mission because the news were going out late and everything got delayed.
Mhm. I think the one element that we haven't talked about with this is the military's role in, and there's a lot we could look at with the military's role, but let's stick with the frame of this conversation, which is media, information, dissemination, understanding what's happening. So, what role is the military playing in either preventing information from getting out or distorting information or propagandizing?
My whole life, grew up with this fake number. Whenever there's a natural disaster, they always lie. Even if it is a natural disaster, they always lie like the number would be fabricated. The number would be lower, and or they would hide how much the impact isn't something because they do not want to, uh, quote unquote, like lose face, like or quote unquote ugly face. They say they want to show that they're capable, they're able to provide. So they always like try one. They usually omit the data or the information before any crisis. There was no like right now like there's no early warning system. Like we a lot of expert has been telling that we are going to face the earthquake because we are on the Gain fault, which is one of the famous fault, and this is we are within the period of having the earthquake, like massive earthquake. But then we couldn't prepare and we have no preparation because mainly because there was a coup and we are supposed to talk about these things, but then we have just running away for our life. A lot of people were running away from our life. So there's no early warning system, no preparations and everything. And even now it happened, they were delay in like saying a number, and also they also hide the information. Now they said over as of last night, I haven't checked this morning before I go to sleep, it was over 1,600 people die, but then the actual number would be double or triple. That's what we usually say the whole life or whenever the military say the number. If they say this number for the whole country, the number must be definitely higher than this. And as a military, there are a lot of things that they can do in a way to provide the support and the rescue mission. They have all the necessary equipment. They have all the airplane to kill people, and they couldn't use it for saving people. So they just it's more all about photo op, and it's all about this kind of propaganda. We are doing great and all this, but like the help on the ground are people themselves. They are doing it themselves.
Right. So you're describing a couple of military tactics and that they often minimize the damage. And this is not just true of damage that they themselves are causing, obviously, but even natural disasters that are out of their control and that do happen. That even then they want to minimize the damage and the loss of life because that then looks bad on them. That they could be seeing more to do to help the people. And then on the other hand, they do love to highlight any little thing that they're doing and have great photo ops and great publicity for any small amount of formal declaration of aid being shown. I've seen that already. I mean, I've seen photos of sanitized medical clinics with top generals visiting, showing an indication that look, help is on the way, and this is what we're setting up. And just by the look of those photos, they recall to me photos of the past that are just clearly staged and set up to show a kind of imaginary scene that's so far away from the real devastation that's taking place.
Yeah, it's more photo op campaign for them.
But the other part of how media relates to where the military is situated is not just how are they fabricating or inventing what they want to get out there, but how are they preventing information from others that are trying to get it out. So, in other words, not only is it so hard to get information because of internet connection and the trauma people are going through and the cuts to journalists and the journalists who've had to flee, all of those things notwithstanding, there's also this added thing on top that the military is not exactly encouraging a free flow of information. So what can you tell us, what have they done traditionally at times of natural disasters, and what have you learned that they're doing in the early days of this one?
Yeah, so usually they would prevent the people to get the reporting like in a crisis. We have example in the major crisis like Cyclone Nuggets, and then the Cyclone Nuggets or all other. There was another cyclone in Rakhine State, and then there was a case of a journalist being arrested to cover about the natural disaster. And also in the Cyclone Nuggets, which is the infamous Nuggets, the cyclone in the country in 2008. There were a lot of dead bodies and a lot of, again, I know a lot of natural disaster. People reported about it, and people do the rescue of the, only to pick up the body. People got arrested for doing these kind of things. People got arrested for reporting about this kind of natural disaster. It's an old tale. Like Myanmar military always uses to block actively involving to blocking the media or the media worker to report about media worker, or even like people who want to share, ordinary people who want to share the information out. They would target and they charge them. So this is a repetitive example we have seen in the kinds of crisis reporting. So far, we do not hear a solid example of them blocking the information, or maybe they're so busy. But we also started hearing about. I'm trying to verify. We also started hearing about people were getting arrested, like when people come out to get help and something. A lot of people are the protester, and so they were targeted, which I'm still trying to verify.
Mm, right. And now, one of the things that may have surprised some is that soon after the earthquake happened, the military did issue a statement that they welcomed international help and relief, which in past natural disasters they certainly did not. I wonder your take on that.
Well, I think that might be a multiple factor. So one is that the situation, especially in the capital, Naypyidaw, must be devastating to the level the Myanmar needs to convince its own people that he cares about them. And I think that might be the actual damage, which is could be way more than they show us. So maybe that's one way to do the propaganda mission or convincing its own people. So that would be one thing. And two, he has been trying to get this international legitimacy with through the elections, and wanted to show that he is a government, quote unquote government of the country, and he wants to welcome and he wants to show that he's this government that take care of it. So that would be more for the legitimacy of his power, which is they are illegitimate, right? And also three could be we are in the civil war, and having this kind of international aid in terms of food and basic supply or the other rescue technology. He should be able to use it for his military advancement or the military purposes. So we have always have an example of them misusing this kind of aid support to their military advancement or the military purposes. So that I see there might be, three reasons why he would call immediately after the crisis.
Right. And, it's certainly not unusual for a normal country to go through a disaster and for the authorities to say, we welcome international aid, to take in that international aid to make sure it reaches the people in the country who need it and the state can't provide because they're so decimated. So I think for people listening to this that don't so much know Myanmar's recent history or the playbook of the military, I think there might there's something of common sense that might strike one. Well, surely they what could be so wrong with just wanting to welcome foreign aid and then to have those international relief workers help to distribute that aid to their people. Of course, this is where the asterisk comes in, because we go back to the military playbook and how they welcome that aid. And what can you tell us about past efforts where international aid has come after natural disasters, and what we might expect with this?
Usually they use it for their own own military advancement and everything. And also, yeah, calling for the international help is not a bad thing. So of course, at the end of the day, whoever delivers successfully and transparently to the people in need, we should welcome. We should never politicize this kind of humanitarian aids and everything.
Mm,
But
mm,
it was the military always politicized these kind of humanitarian aids. And now, as I said before, let me explain a bit about how Myanmar system work in terms of the crisis response. So let's step back. So traditionally, we have never been in this kind of state. The state has never been functioning and never really helped us in any kinds of our daily life. For example, even the electricity, which is a state project, we got to use it. We people have to chip in themselves and build their own generator, install their own generator, install their own electricity line, and we kind of grew up with this kind of fire outbreak because the system is not standard, right? Because what people have to do individually depend on how much they can afford. The cables are different voltages and everything, so we have this always having this kind of fire problems um, in Myanmar. But then even through this electricity, which is like a state project, people have to do it ourselves. The road, we have to chip in ourselves to build our own road and everything. So that's how we have been living. And we have this community and volunteer system in place in
mm,
our traditional way. So any kinds of crisis, these are the people who actually provide support and provide rescues or a lot of other things like community to community. They do it. But what happened was this whole system was collapsed because of the coup and because of the military targeting those people. So
mm,
arresting, and now with the mandatory constriction, a lot of young people were constricted and out in the front line. And
mm,
also they were under warrant list. They have to lay low and they have to hide in the they have to hide. So the whole system, the what in the past, when this kind of support and everything, people will give it to those community group, and then they will deliver the aids and everything. So military using it, one, they don't have any capacity to distribute those support without taking the help from the community level. But if they cannot guarantee that they're not going to arrest or they're not going to target those community volunteer and the community group at the kind time of crisis, it would be very difficult to deliver the aids because they politicize it. They may arrest the medical doctor that are CDM, which is like civil disobedient, they walked out of the office. So if the CDM doctor come and wants to give a treatment, there's no guarantee the military will not arrest them or anything. So even though they ask for this international aid and some or aid, one, they don't have capacity. They don't have the capacity to distribute these funds, and they don't have the access to many places without working along with the other stakeholders. And and so it's more technical, and there's no guarantee that they're not going to politicize this aid to target their opposition. And considering they haven't really announced the temporary pause of the offensive or the ceasefire amidst of the crisis, they continue fighting in the middle of the earthquake.
These are such important points that you bring up, and I just want to underscore this for those that have not spent extended time in Myanmar, because things have worked differently there based on the authorities that have been in place over time. First, to just recap, at the you mentioned how normal things that a state provide, the Myanmar state has never provided. You talked about shocking examples of building a road or electricity. Communities have to come together to do this. We can throw in, education or health services or other things as well to that 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 the people just don't expect the state will be there for them in any way, that they have to find a way to manage themselves. And that is what has built up this resilience, this community spirit. And then how, because of the conflict that's been waging and the brutal tactics of the military, so many of the people that would be in place to provide these services and help their community have been arrested or killed or fled the country or are underground or have been conscripted or arrested or something terrible. And so the types of people that would and could step up are so many of them are gone now, but of those that of the few that might remain, or of those that might seek to want to be involved and to help where needed, then there's the threat of arrest, and then there's the threat that there's no safety, that if they do take a role to help their people, as you mentioned, there were stories during Nargis and other natural disasters where simply by helping or by bringing supplies or food or medicine or taking care of the corpses, that one could be arrested for that. And so you can get in a lot of trouble by trying to help your fellow person. But one can't but wonder, from the international community that's sending this support from the military that is requesting it, given this sordid history, and this need to, as you say, the military can't work, or they can't do this work by themselves because they never have. They would have to rely on the community groups, and there's, to say, the understatement to say, there's a complete lack of trust there. And so, and it's added to all of that, as if it couldn't be bad enough, that the relief supplies that are brought, if not scrutinized carefully, can certainly be used to, in their military efforts, to continue harming civilians and trying to crush the resistance. And so this is really complicated, to say the least, and also, brings out a concern that, um, of the international community offering help for what's an obvious disaster. If that help is loaded off of the planes and then they fly away feeling happy with the good effort, in the hands of the military, who's then going to propagandize a small amount of it, and the rest of it goes who knows where. This is painting a very, very dangerous picture.
Yeah. So people have to be, well, we're not against, nobody is against the idea of supporting to the people. All we were saying is that Myanmar situation, you have to work with multiple actor and different level to make sure the aids are getting into the hands of the people in need. You just can't give and leave. You have to do the critical oversight of how the aids are delivered, and also making sure that military do not politicize, making sure that military cooperate, work together with the different stakeholders in the country. Otherwise, it just you international donor, you just lost your money, and then you may be complicit with the military campaign to kill its own people if they use these humanitarian aids into their pocket and into their warfare.
Now, someone as yourself, who's been involved in media for so long and knows the power of media, especially from a country like Myanmar, where the right to report is not always given, and it can be a dangerous task. What are you seeing in particular in this case, in the aftermath of the earthquake, of the extreme limited amount of information that's coming to us as to what really took place and how bad it is and what condition people are in today? What is the real risk that we run in not being able to have this accurate information now?
If you don't have a real information, it would be difficult for people to do the assessments and the kind of where to direct your energy and your resources to to help the people. And also, we have been seeing also a lot of disinformation, misinformation, because people were scared. So they started posting on social media with this, some wrong information also been happening on the social media. So that's also make people panic. So the role of the media in this time of the crisis is like, we want to reach to the world. We want to reach to inform our family member. Like a lot of Myanmar people now are outside of their country, so a lot of the family member were left in this country. So we do not know what is going on with the people back home, and so it's really like mentally exhausting process. Personally, for me, um, let alone this right information and all this thing, it's just very difficult. And also, if you do not know this context of it, you will think that military with their country, with this political turmoil and this civil war, um, you you may not really know what people want and misrepresent people and misrepresent the people's government, misrepresent this illegitimate military junta as this legitimizing the battle that we have been 4 years fighting for, risking our life and blood and future. And we do not want all these efforts and life to be in vain if this humanitarian assistance it's used in a way to legitimize the military. Then, our 4 years will be in vain.
Hmm. That's a heavy thing to hold.
A lot of my friends, a lot of people, a lot of young people, they sacrifice their life to fight. And a lot of people working behind the scenes and making sure to tell to the world that this military is illegitimate and this military do not represent us. This is the coup take away our vote. We voted, but then they just like wipe out our vote in like with like sweep away. And since then we've been trying really hard to tell the world like this is not legitimate, this is not our government, and we've been fighting really hard in many ways. We have to leave home to for this journey, for this fight and everything. And now with this humanitarian help legitimizing it, it's painful thing. If we got to see this, it would be very painful.
And it's really this double-edged sword, right? Because it's on one hand using the humanitarian cover a as an excuse for this legitimization, but on the other hand, there's absolute devastation across Myanmar. There's people in just indescribable suffering and loss and devastation. So it it's um it's a loss on both sides of the ledger that can be kind of hard to comprehend, I would imagine.
Yeah, it is. It's at the end we have to focus on the people, but then
Mm.
if the military keep politicizing everything, how can we do that? And the fight against the military is also not for power for the people. Like, we just want to live our life, we just want freedom, we just want to live in safety, that kind of thing. But it didn't happen, and everything is kind of politicized. So all the international community that help individual or the states or whoever helping, making sure this humanitarian assistance, making sure the military understand and stick to that understanding that it is not to be mistaken as the giving legitimacy to their governance, because they are still illegitimized. So making sure the military understand, or making sure that military do not use it for their political or the military gain. Do not misuse the international aids. Two, making sure that all the aids are get to the people in needs, not ended up in the hands of the military. So do the critical oversight and work with different layer, different multiple international NGO and the local NGO, local charity group, local people, individual volunteer to make sure things are get to the right hand. And three, eh, you know, make sure the military depoliticize all the effort. Make sure the military, making sure that military do not target or arrest the people who are providing the support, regardless of their political belief and regardless of their political standpoint, and stop the making sure the military stop the offensive and the airstrike in the middle of the crisis. If you just keep if otherwise you just keep giving this humanitarian assistance in one place, and then the military is continue killing people, take advantage of like a lot of people are busy with their life, and military will take advantage to target for and to win the fight. That's also, it's a double sword. So we want people to understand the context and make sure you talk with every stakeholder. That includes the ethnic organization, that includes the national unity government, that includes the different civil society organization and different layers of people, like working with the different stakeholder, trying to understand not only with the SAC, just also work together with other people.
Mm. Now, you yourself, I know, speak to various members of the international community, and so you're able to gauge their understanding and their misunderstanding of your country. And so I want to ask you about two things you just said in your last statement, gauging the international response and understanding. One of those things is when we're talking about the military politicizing aid and doing it for legitimization, and trying to cover it, to play them for fools, basically. First question is, do you see that as working with some members of the international community? Is that something that is that a trap that they could legitimately fall into or want to fall into and go along with it? And two, you said that it was very important for the international community to understand all the stakeholders and to speak to all the people involved.
Um, yeah, but I mean, practically, right? When I said like talking to the multi layers and everything in time of crisis, which is practically also could delay the process. So I'm not saying like people should just go around wasting their time talking to everybody, but just trying. There are already some organization in place that are like, for example, like MSF, the Doctor Without Borders. They're in the country and they've been waiting for the access. So the thing is, why don't one thing I don't understand is you keep calling the international military, keep calling the international actor, international assistant, the right assistant, but then why blocking the organization that are already in place to go and access to those area? So if they have a will, they will have, right? So that's what I mean, like talking with the people, working with the organization that are already in place in Myanmar. They understand the context, even the INGO, they understand the context and they
Sure.
understand who to work with and like what are the dynamics and everything. So rather than just you just come in and like do the yourself, but also work together with different people. That's what I've been advising. That's what I've been like focusing on, because a lot of the organization, a lot of the thing, they have a channel, like work with Thai government as well. They know where to channel. Like even in Thai government, work with Thai government, Thai military as
Mhm.
well. They know the channel. A lot of the organization that are working on Myanmar already been things are in place. So consult with them and work with them. That's what I was saying. If you cannot meet with every individual, but I'll talk with a lot of local staff in the organization. They have a lot of information that they can share about it.
And are you seeing that happen, or do you have confidence that that will happen?
I am not sure. I do not know these people flying in, so I don't.
And how about the first question? This sense of the international community not falling for the cover of legitimization and politicization of aid. Is that? Do you think that that's something they could fall into, or do you think that's that they're going to see through it?
I am not sure as well. But in every conflict, there's a conflict sensitivities, right? That's what they have been training us for many years, like conflict sensitivities and something. They should be aware, they should know it. Yes, for now, it's an immediate rescue and like let's just jump into it. But then this will not finish within a week or so. It will be a long-term process. So just trying to let's trying to it's something that you can do it over time, but right now immediate thing what they can do is before they really jump in with all this, you know to the um it's the thing called like to hell with good intention. Before doing that, at least trying to talk to military to make sure that they depoliticize this humanitarian crisis. So that is the immediate need, and that's something that they can do it without needing to consult with all other stakeholders, and they can really um, convince the military to pause the offensive during this humanitarian crisis. So like to start, and also three is like not to make sure the military do not target or arrest the local support people and the journalists and the people who want to help in this crisis. Those people
Mhm.
from the different, um, like from the different political standpoint. That's something you don't need. You don't need this complicated multi-stakeholder, um, and multi-stakeholder consultation. This is the basic thing that these emergency response can do.
Mhm. Right. You talk about the difficulty of getting accurate information, how long it's taken even you to begin to learn things, and I think that that often that information goes to Burmese social media and online sources, local media as well, and then eventually finds its way to in English and international. And so I think you're probably aware more of what has been going on the ground beyond what has gotten to the English language world. So, can you just take a moment and tell us what you've been learning? Any, whether it's a bird's eye view or whether they're anecdotal stories of things you've been hearing, just about the level of devastation and hardship that has been going on the last few days.
Yeah. The level of devastation, it's I can't even comprehend. Um, do you know, this is not just one crisis for us. We've been like one crisis on top of another since the pandemic. We Myanmar people have never get any rest since since 2020. The one thing is we've been relying so much on the social media to get the information. So the devastation, the level of devastation, I can't even comprehend, because it was, it's not just for Myanmar people and for us. It's not just one crisis. We've been facing one crisis over another since the pandemic. We never get a rest. We just feel like we've been tested by whatever the superpower is. And so the level of devastation, it's really bad. And individual people posting like, hey, can you please, you know, help my family that is stuck in this place and that place? Can you please send the rescue team? Or like, oh, we don't have food, and can you help us and all this, and this person is missing. A lot of people just posted the whole family, like this whole family is missing. My children, my mom is missing, and the video of the people being stuck, they saw their family member stuck in this pile of brick, but they can't really take them out, and kind of, and lots of dead bodies on the streets, and the fire in Mandalay, they will also fire after the earthquake, and also the mosque. With this is also for the mosque. This is the Ramadan period, and this is the last Friday. It's during the Friday prayer, so a lot of people was a lot of people were killed while during the prayer, and a lot of Buddhist monk also got killed because they were in the middle of religious the Buddhist exam. A lot. I can't even comprehend, and the thing my social media news feed is filled with all those things, all the picture, video of the destroying town, fallen like the buildings and everything, and yeah, individual people like asking for help, like some family member are outside of the country, and then they were like, can you please go check my family here and there. I lost contact with them and I do not know where they are, and sometimes there's appear like, sorry, yeah, I just learned that my mom, my children, they die, we got their body. It's devastating, and it's also not only inside Myanmar. The in Bangkok there was this the building collapse, and that were also a lot of people who got killed were also Burmese migrant worker in Thailand. So we are the country with dark jokes, and so we even say in a way that in Buddhism we believe the hell have 8 floor, and then we said we are on the ninth floor. Myanmar is on the ninth floor of the hell. So yeah, I don't know. This is a situation, and on top of that, people posted about the airstrike. Like one person posted that they've been because of the earthquake, they are running out in the field. And then once they were out in the field, that's the time of the airstrike. They are out in the field, open field, and the airstrike. So they have nowhere to run. Like there's an earthquake with breaking ground on your feet while while the airstrike on your head. So I don't know. We were saying like, yeah, we got the extra hell there that is called Myanmar. And we say that this is like, the dead people stop the breathing while the live one suffocate. The feeling of like helplessness that we can't help each other. Like myself, I really want to go in. A lot of people wanted to go back in, but we can't. You know,
I can't even talk right now.
it's all because of the coup. It's more than the natural disaster. If there was no coup, things may have been different, and the emergency response may have been different. If it was a legitimate government, they would have prepared for the this kind of emergency response. We wouldn't natural disaster you cannot stop, but it's all about preparations and all about how you respond. Now people are picking bodies, and the people who are stuck with their bare hands with their body, like people crawl into the damaged building and pick the people out, or with the hand kind of home tools, like the gardening tools and everything, to take the people out of the pile. And in some video images that I saw on social media, we can hear people screaming from the building. The rescuers also know, but then they don't know how to get to them. One person that I saw on social media, she was stuck for like 7 hours. Luckily, she came out alive. So that's something that we also know, and we've been told, like the body, the cremation happened every 3 minutes per body. So yeah, I don't know. It's apocalypse, and we've been seeing everything. We've seen the pandemic, people die, the coup, and we've been saying like we may be the most resilient people. This is testing us, and yeah, I don't know.
It's hard for me to even respond to that. I've just been I'm just crying. I'm just crying hearing you say that. It's I just don't have any words. I guess if I collect myself, the only thing I want to say is we're obviously speaking in English, and this is going out to a wide number of English speaking listeners, and presumably many of those listening are they're listening because they care about what's going on, and they're standing in solidarity. And I think that I speak for a lot of listeners when they're hearing this and just thinking, what can I do? What can I do to be an ally of these people going through this at this time? What can I do? So what would you say to them?
Support the group. We have individual donation things that we can post. I believe Inside Myanmar also can share these channel, and also reach out to your Burmese friends if you have any Burmese friends. I believe they know how to contact and check in with them. Also, it's very emotionally difficult time for all of us, so at least check in with them. And then if you want to financially support or all other kinds of support, um, do it through those network. At least talk to any Burmese group in your town. For the people in the US, like in counties they have other Burmese community group. In the US, some organization like Better Burma or Mutual Aid Myanmar for the US, they are 501, is a 501c organization, so they're a registered organization. You can donate through them, or you can just I think the Inside Myanmar, you can reach out to them, and Inside Myanmar can reach out to me, and I can direct you to other local group as well. Like it would be good, like Inside Myanmar can share this kind of thing on your platform with different verifying health support. So these support, I bet this definitely gonna get to the ground rather than with this photo op. And also, please do not ask us photo. Sorry, that's something, we are in crisis, and we are in like crisis situation. A lot of people do not have time, like medical doctor also do not have time and all this thing. We will be transparent. The level of the scale and the damage is really bad, and maybe people can do the budget line later, but please do not ask us for photo op. Like we do not have that bandwidth to be like receiving. People do not have bandwidth to like photo of receiving aid and smiling at the camera. This is not the time. So the middle group needs to manage this logistical thing, but please do not burden people on the ground by this kind of taking photo and video and say thank you message and everything.
All right. Those are important points to keep in mind. And I just invite you as we close, is there any other message that you would like to express, you would like the international community of listeners, along with the Burmese diaspora out there who we know show up in large numbers too to listen to this, that that you would like them to hear?
We're gonna go through it as a society, and and we just need support, and work with the diaspora group, works with the with your Burmese friends around your home, and they are the one who should be able to direct you to the right approach, and also where to get the money. And I just wish everybody to be safe, physically and emotionally. I wish nobody nobody get the experience of us, the Myanmar people, are having. So yeah, please keep us in your thoughts and prayer, and yeah, be safe.
Thank you for being a part of this conversation and standing in solidarity with the people and stories shared here. At Insight Myanmar Podcast, solidarity is not just a word, it's the foundation of everything we do. Each voice we amplify and every story we share represents a call to stand together with those in Myanmar. And so it is through the act of listening, reflecting, and engaging that you become part of this collective effort to uphold dignity, amplify truth, and stand firm for what matters. And I should also add that all of this work is only possible because of listeners like you, who have chosen to offer a contribution. Every donation is an act of standing together, of refusing to turn away, and of reinforcing the bonds that connect us across borders and experiences. If you believe in the power of solidarity and the importance of sharing these stories, we invite you to join us by making a donation. Your support helps us to keep this platform alive and ensure that these voices continue to be heard. Visit insightmyanmar.org/donation to join us in standing with Myanmar.
Oba yarananda dayananga yaranaya dayanam boda yaranamano